The sun had long since set on the ravaged landscape, casting a bloody orange glow over the battle-scarred terrain. The air reeked of smoke, sweat, and the acrid tang of gunpowder. Amidst the chaos, one figure emerged, his features chiseled from granite, his eyes burning with a ferocity that seemed to illuminate the darkening sky. Jack McCarrick, once a decorated Special Forces operative, now a lone wolf driven by a hunger for vengeance, strode through the wreckage of a war-torn city. His eyes, like two coals plucked from the depths of the underworld, seemed to bore into the souls of the shattered buildings, as if searching for the source of the unrelenting fury that had consumed him. Years of killing, years of witnessing the worst of humanity, had distilled his emotions to a single, all-consuming passion: to eradicate the architects of the senseless slaughter that had ravaged his life. The memories of his family, of the wife and child he had lost to the brutal efficiency of a sniper's bullet, still seared his mind like a branding iron. As he walked, the crunch of debris beneath his boots served as a grim reminder of the devastation that had been wrought upon the city. The silence, oppressive and heavy, hung in the air like the weight of 1,000 unspoken accusations. Yet, Jack pushed on, driven by a resolve that had become his sole reason for existence. He had received a message, a cryptic whisper of a hidden stronghold, where the masterminds of the destruction that had shattered his life were said to be hiding. The information had been gleaned from the fragmented mutterings of a dying informant, a broken man who had whispered his secrets to Jack in a blood-stained alleyway. Now, as the darkness deepened, Jack's footsteps quickened, his senses on high alert, his hand resting on the grip of the .45 holstered at his side. He had come too far, endured too much, to be deterred by the unknown dangers that lay ahead. The time for hesitation was long past. The time for revenge had finally arrived. The city's ravaged landscape seemed to unfold before him like a twisted tapestry, every twisted metal beam and shattered window pane a testament to the destruction that had been wrought. Jack's eyes scanned the rooftops, his gaze piercing the gloom as he navigated the rubble-strewn streets. He had been walking for hours, the silence broken only by the occasional distant rumble of artillery fire or the faint wail of sirens. As he turned a corner, the outline of a building materialized before him, its facade pockmarked with bullet holes and scorched by fire. The sign above the entrance, once proud and gleaming, now hung askew, the letters Hotel Europa barely legible through the grime. Jack's heart quickened as he approached the entrance, his hand tightening around the pistol grip. This was the place, the stronghold of the men who had orchestrated the chaos that had destroyed his life. He pushed open the creaking door, the dimly lit lobby unfolding before him like a macabre welcome mat. The air inside was heavy with the stench of smoke and corruption, the shadows cast by the flickering fluorescent lights like grasping fingers. Jack's eyes adjusted slowly to the gloom, his gaze roving the area, searching for any sign of life. To his left, a reception desk, once polished mahogany, now scarred and battered, seemed to loom like a barrier between him and the truth. Behind the desk, a figure, shrouded in shadows, watched him with an unblinking gaze. Jack's instincts screamed warning, his finger tightening on the trigger as he took a step forward, his eyes locked on the figure. "Welcome, Jack McCarrick." The figure spoke, the voice low and gravelly, like the rustling of dry leaves. "We've been expecting you." The figure emerged from the shadows, its features resolving into those of a man in his late 40s, his face a topographic map of scars and wrinkles. A crooked smile bisected his face, like a fault line in worn leather. He wore a tailored suit, immaculately pressed, a stark contrast to the ravaged surroundings. "Viktor Kuznetsov," Jack whispered, the name tasting like bitter acid on his tongue. "The man responsible for the bloodshed, the architect of the operation that had shattered Jack's world." Kuznetsov laughed, the sound like the rustling of dry paper. "You're as tenacious as they said, Jack. I must admit I'm impressed, but you're too late. The game is already won." Jack's eyes narrowed, his hand tightening on the pistol grip. "What have you done, Kuznetsov?" The Russian's smile widened, his eyes glinting with a cold, calculated light. Oh, I've merely reshaped the world, Jack. Brought order to the chaos. And you, my friend, are just a relic of the old world. A reminder of the weaknesses we've overcome. Jack took a step forward, his heart pounding in his chest. You've killed thousands, maybe tens of thousands. How can you call that order? Kuznetsov shrugged, the movement almost imperceptible. Casualties of progress, Jack. Necessary sacrifices for the greater good. You, of all people, should understand the cost of war. The word stung. A fresh wave of pain and anger crashing over Jack. He knew that tone, that calculating gaze. It was the same used by the men who had taken everything from him. The same used by the ones who had pulled the trigger. Where are they, Kuznetsov? Jack growled, his voice low and menacing. Tell me where they are, and I might let you live. Kuznetsov chuckled. A cold, mirthless sound. You'll find them, Jack. Oh, you'll find them. But it won't matter. The endgame is already in motion. And you, my friend, are just a pawn about to be sacrificed. The Russian's words dripped with confidence. His voice laced with a sinister triumphalism. Jack's eyes narrowed, his mind racing with the implications. What endgame was Kuznetsov talking about? What master plan had he set in motion? Why would I be sacrificed? Jack pressed, his hand itching for the comforting weight of his pistol. Kuznetsov leaned forward, his gaze piercing. Because, Jack, you're a loose end, a remnant of a bygone era. You see, the world is about to change, and you're not part of the new order. A cold dread crept up Jack's spine as he realized the magnitude of Kuznetsov's plan. What have you done? The Russian's smile returned, wider and more predatory than before. Let's just say that the world is about to be reborn in fire and blood. And you, Jack, are just a minor obstacle to be eliminated. Suddenly, the lobby erupted into chaos. Shouts and screams echoed through the corridors as the sound of gunfire and shattering glass filled the air. Jack's instincts screamed warning, his hand flashing to his pistol as he spun toward the commotion. A group of heavily armed men, clad in black tactical gear, stormed into the lobby, their guns blazing. Jack recognized the insignia on their uniforms, the same emblem worn by the men who had killed his family. Kuznetsov's smile never wavered, his eyes glinting with amusement. It seems the party has started, Jack, and you're the guest of honor. The Russians closed in, their guns trained on Jack, as Kuznetsov took a step back, his hands raised in a mocking gesture of surrender. Jack's finger tightened on the trigger, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew he was running out of time. He had to take out Kuznetsov and then, he didn't know what, but he knew he had to keep moving, survive, avenge. Jack's gaze darted around the lobby, his mind racing with calculations. He counted 5 hostiles, each one a trained killer. The odds were against him, but he had faced worse. He had to get past them, get to Kuznetsov, and make him talk. Without hesitation, Jack charged forward, his pistol firing in short, controlled bursts. The air erupted into a maelstrom of gunfire and screams, the sound of shattering glass and crunching bone. Jack moved with a precision born of years of combat, his senses on high alert as he picked off the hostiles one by one. The room became a blur of chaos, the smell of gunpowder and sweat hanging heavy in the air. Jack's ears rang from the constant barrage of gunfire, his vision narrowing to a pinpoint focus on the remaining hostiles. Kuznetsov watched the carnage unfold, his smile unwavering as he backed slowly toward the door. Jack's gaze locked onto him, a promise of death burning in his eyes. You're next, Kuznetsov. The last hostile fell, the room falling silent as suddenly as it had erupted into chaos. Jack's chest heaved with exertion, his pistol still trained on Kuznetsov. The Russian took another step back, his eyes flicking toward the door. You're too late, Jack, he whispered, a strange glint in his eye. The wheels are in motion. Nothing can stop it now. With a sudden burst of speed, Kuznetsov spun on his heel and sprinted out of the lobby, leaving Jack to face the aftermath of the chaos. Jack's gaze swept the room, taking in the carnage. 5 hostiles lay sprawled on the floor, their bodies broken and lifeless. But Kuznetsov had escaped. A growl of frustration ripped from Jack's throat as he gave chase, pounding through the corridors in pursuit of the Russian. The game was far from over. It was only just beginning. Jack's boots thundered through the corridors, the sound echoing off the walls as he pursued Kuznetsov through the labyrinthine hotel. His heart raced with a mix of anger and desperation, his mind fixated on catching the Russian before he disappeared into the night. Doors blurred past, signs flashed by, and stairwells beckoned, but Jack didn't falter. He knew every twist and turn, every hidden passage and secret door. This was his territory, and he would not be denied. The chase led him down into the bowels of the hotel, the air growing thick with the stench of mildew and decay. Jack's flashlight cast eerie shadows on the walls, making it seem as if the very hotel itself was watching him. Suddenly, Kuznetsov's footsteps vanished, swallowed by the darkness. Jack skidded to a halt, his chest heaving, his pistol at the ready. The silence was oppressive, the only sound the creaking of rusty pipes and the distant hum of the city. Kuznetsov, Jack bellowed, his voice echoing off the walls. You can't hide forever. In the blackness, a faint rustling noise grew louder, like the quiet whisper of a snake slithering through the shadows. Jack's instincts screamed warning, his finger tightening on the trigger. A figure emerged from the darkness, its features indistinct, shrouded in shadows. Jack's pistol snapped up, his heart pounding in his chest. Kuznetsov. The figure didn't respond, its presence seeming to fill the corridor. Jack's instincts howled in warning, a primal sense of danger washing over him. And then, in a flash of insight, Jack realized his mistake. This wasn't Kuznetsov. This was something far more sinister. Who are you? Jack whispered, his voice barely audible over the pounding of his heart. The figure took a step forward, its features slowly resolving from the darkness. Jack's world went dark, his mind reeling in horror as he beheld the face of his worst nightmare.